Coming up on Mountain News this morning, we get an update from one Eastern Kentucky couple who, like many in our region, are rebuilding their lives after the flood. And a woman from right here in Perry County continues her important mission to feed everyone affected by the floods who still need a hot meal.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News this morning.
Good morning to you. It's 6 o'clock on this Friday. I'm Dakota Makris. Good morning to you. Let's head over to Brandon Robinson for a look at our forecast this morning. And Brandon, when I was reading the headlines, I almost said, because it was on my mind, coming up on Mountain News first at 4. And I do not know. I was like, oh, wait, that's the wrong newscast.
Listen.
I can't even remember the last time I've anchored the 4.
That's random, because you and I were talking earlier behind the scenes that my brain is like an iPod on shuffle when it comes to music, and I was telling you some of the songs that were running through my head this morning. That's just random to have newscast, like different newscasts.
Yeah, I was like, nope, this is the Mountain News. This morning. This is not first at 4.
The Mountain News, okay? The
only newscast that really,
exactly
matters.
All right, let's get into the forecast this morning. I won't tell Steve you said that. Anyway, let's talk about what's going on right now. We've been watching the satellite and radar because it shows up better there, the snow that is moving out of the region. That is the positive news this morning. It is moving out of the region, but it did leave its mark overnight in some places, so there still could be some slick spots. Closings and delays on the bottom of your screen. I know a couple of those closings are due to some sickness, some illness out there. I know Middlesboro, I talked to them yesterday. They're having some illness issues over that way. So, again, a lot of delays out there this morning because of the possibility for slick roads. We go to Pikeville, US 119, US 23 intersection near Pikeville Commons, and you see not a whole lot of issues over there. 28, though, so if there was any water out there in the county somewhere, it might be frozen on some of those roads. Just give yourself plenty of time to get out. We're going to end our first alert weather day coverage at 7 this morning because we haven't had any reports of slick roads in a lot of locations. Now up to the north, the interstate looks a little bit slick, but just again, be extra careful. Temperatures below freezing everywhere this morning. Still going down. Looks like Clintwood is now our cold spot at 26. And we've got several spots, actually only 3 now, at 4. Grundy, Ashland, Manchester, and Monticello, all at 31 currently. So a little extra to max warming needed on your coffee meter this morning. And as you're grabbing something to eat as you head out the door, maybe a donut, next dozen hours, look pretty good there. Lots of sunshine. Could be a good morning to go out to the local donut shop and get some donuts out there this morning. And temperatures will top out in the 40s this afternoon. Dakota?
All right, Brendan, thank you. This weekend marks the 6-month anniversary of the historic flooding our region saw last summer. In August, we stopped by Gloria and Ken Sloan's house in Knott County. The couple tells us they just finished the repairs on the inside of their house just 2 weeks ago, and they say they are blessed with the rebuilding help they've received.
It feels like we're back to normal to some degree. There's still work on, I got some underpinning to do and some siding to repair, the water's done. That's summer, I can get to that, but feels good to be back in some degree of normal.
The Sloans say nearly 4 inches of water got inside their home. And the Sloans are not the only Eastern Kentuckians back in their home after the flood. Well, during his Team Kentucky update yesterday, Governor Andy Beshear said 235 families are still in travel trailers. That number is down by 8 from last week. 145 families have transitioned out of the Commonwealth sheltering program. Also during his update, the governor referred to a promise he made shortly after the flood. In July, he said he would be there every day, every week, and every month that it takes to rebuild. Yesterday, he acknowledged others who have made and kept similar commitments, one of those being Perry County native. Our Olivia Calfee caught up with her to talk about the last 6 months and how she is playing a role in the community's recovery.
When she felt called to feed people in Knott County, she never dreamed it would turn into this.
I thought it'd be chaos. Hang in there for, 3 weeks to get the people on their feet.
Kate Clemens says her 3-week journey of feeding people under a tent quickly turned into something much bigger than food.
I never dreamed that 6 months out we would still be hundreds of people's only hot meal of the day still.
Her love for helping people turned that tent and table into a place of fellowship, food, and sometimes just a hug if they needed it.
The story of the tent I always say is to bring hope. It's not just a hot meal, it's to let people know they're not alone and that we're going to be with them through the whole rebuild process. It's just crazy that in 2023, 6 months out, so many people still can't prepare a hot meal. So the need for food is still great. I'm still serving hundreds of meals a day.
Reminding the people of Knott County that even when all hope seems lost, God calls on his children to be his hands and feet.
It's like David and Goliath in the Bible. The flood was Goliath trying to kill us all, and she took her little slingshot and defended this whole community and took down that giant.
From Kate's food tent to the recent establishment of her nonprofit, Roscoe's Daughter, now working on developing a food pantry. She says she trusts in God's plan and would do it all again.
Everyone in line, you can hear them driving by, like, we're all one big family. That's why I show up each day. That's why I keep coming here to do what I do, is because I love them.
That was WYMT's Olivia Calfee reporting. We will continue to have stories about flood survivors and the rebuilding efforts throughout the coming months. But as we lead up to the 6-month anniversary, there was one quote from the governor's update yesterday that sums up Eastern Kentucky's resiliency.
But Eastern Kentucky, let me say, we love you. We're going to be there for you. This is going to be the toughest rebuild, I think, in the history of the United States. But we are going to get it done. That's what we do as Kentuckians.
Well, we are getting our first look at what pollsters have discovered with this year's closely watched governor's race. The Mason-Dixon poll shows a majority of Kentucky voters approving of the job of Governor Andy Beshear. WYMT's Phil Pendleton tells us more about what the poll shows.
It is still a long way to November, but a majority, 61% of likely Kentucky voters say they like what they see in Governor Andy Beshear.
I look at these numbers and they confirm to me that there's nothing Democrat or Republican, red or blue, about a good job, about affordable and accessible health care, or about public safety.
Beshear was the only Democrat to win a statewide office 3 years ago, and many view Kentucky as a very red state. 3 of the constitutional officers who won then are now wanting the governor's office. And Daniel Cameron is leading.
Cameron's clearly leading the other Republican rivals right now, but also it seems to be partly just because he has so much more name recognition.
Kelly Craft is coming in with the second most number, but a lot more people, according to the poll, are undecided. Republican leaders say their sole purpose is defeating Andy Beshear and the Democratic agenda.
Look, at the end of the day, there's a lot of time between now and November, and we look forward to the rigorous and diligent campaign that we will run with whoever our nominee is.
Political experts say part of Beshear's success stems from his handling of 2 major natural disasters in opposite ends of the state.
Holding up Beshear's popularity is that he's stronger in eastern and western Kentucky than he used to be in the poll, and for probably the fact that he's been dealing with problems in eastern western Kentucky.
After Cameron and Craft, others leading the governor's Republican primary are Ryan Quarles and Mike Harmon. Others are garnering only 2% or less of the vote. In Frankfort, Phil Pendleton, WYMT Mountain News.
Political experts say while Governor Beshear is popular in Kentucky, Republicans will work to line him with national Democrat figures who are not popular in the state. A Hazard entrepreneur and founding chief of the Lost Creek Volunteer Fire Department has died. James Smith was also a U.S. Army veteran. Smith was the owner of Hazard Fire and Safety Equipment Company. Smith was part of the Gideons and actively gave out Bibles throughout the community. Visitation for Smith will be from 6 until 9 p.m. today, with his funeral at noon on Saturday. Both will be at the Ingle Bowling Funeral Home. He was 83 years old.
6:09 here on this Friday morning. We've made it to the end of the week, and we've made it out of the snow, almost. Let's take a look at the satellite radar again this morning, and you see it is trying to get out of here. It's just moving very slowly this morning, but the sky is trying to clear back off to our west. We're going to keep an eye on those for you. Up on Whitesburg Pine Mountain, snow on the sides of the roads, on the grass, but not necessarily on the roads. But there could still be some slick spots, higher elevations, bridges, overpasses, anything that looks wet. Just continue to be careful out there now in the northern parts of our area. I-64, the Mountain Parkway, which the Mountain Parkway camera is still too dark to see this morning, or probably a little bit of rough shape. So continue to be easy traveling up that way and across the region this morning. Temperatures in the 20s and 30s as you head out the door. 26 Clintwood, 31 now Ashland, Manchester, and Monticello. Grundy dropped to 30, so a little bit cooler there. Still some wind cranking, so that means it's going to feel a little bit cooler. No massive wind gusts, but you see 20 over in Logan. It's still going to be a breezy day today, so be aware of that, even though temperatures are going to go up about 44 this afternoon. Sunshine should break out a little bit later, too. Dakota?
All right, Brendan, thank you so much. Coming up, cities across the U.S. brace for protests that could turn violent. This video showing a deadly police encounter is set to be released.